The stars burned cold and distant as the last Federation warship limped into orbit around Elysium Prime. Its hull was blackened, sections torn open to the void. Captain Mira watched through the viewport as emergency crews rushed to meet them. Another defeat, the fourth this week. The great hall of the Federation Council was silent as Admiral Zoltar walked to the center platform. The room, designed to hold representatives from 200 worlds, now had empty seats everywhere. 70% of their worlds had fallen to the enemy. The Taraxis Empire has taken the Centauri system, Zoltar said, his 4 eyes blinking slowly. We lost 23 ships and a colony of 3 million. Councillor Thax slammed his tentacle on the table. How? We had our best defenses there. Their quantum phase technology, Zoltar said. Our weapons cannot touch them when they shift phases. They simply wait until our ships drain their power, then attack. On the main screen, images appeared of what had once been beautiful cities on Centauri Prime. Now they were mining pits, with lines of captured aliens being marched into processing centers. The Taraxians, with their crystal-like bodies and cold efficiency, treated all other life as resources to be used. We have tried everything, said High Minister Laurel, her skin changing from its normal blue to a pale gray of despair. Our best technology, our bravest soldiers, our most skilled diplomats. Nothing works. The Federation had always believed peace was the natural state of advanced civilizations. Their people had forgotten what it meant to fight a total war. For 3 cycles, they had retreated, giving up world after world, hoping the Taraxians would be satisfied. They never were. There is one option we have not considered, Admiral Zoltar said carefully. The room grew even quieter. On the edge of the galaxy, there is a world called Earth. Murmurs filled the hall. Everyone knew of Earth. The Federation had watched the humans for centuries, but never made contact. The humans? Minister Laurel asked. They are barely space-capable. What could they do against the Taraxians? Zoltar touched a control, and new images appeared. Humans fighting each other in what they called wars. Scenes of destruction, but also of incredible courage and tactical thinking. The humans are different from us, Zoltar said. While we evolved from herd species that valued harmony, they evolved as pack hunters. They understand violence in ways we cannot. They have fought wars throughout their history. You cannot be serious, Councillor Thax said. They are savages. Did you see what they did to their own planet? To each other? Yes, Zoltar replied calmly. And that is exactly why we need them. The Taraxians are destroying us because we think like prey. We need someone who thinks like a predator. A new image appeared, a human soldier, face streaked with camouflage paint, eyes alert and watchful. Something in that gaze made even the bravest council members shift uncomfortably. We need their ruthlessness, Zoltar continued. Their cunning. Their willingness to do whatever it takes to win. And if we invite these humans to fight for us, Minister Laurel asked, what happens when the war is over? What happens when we have taught violent primitives how to travel between stars? Admiral Zoltar looked at the map showing the Taraxian advance, a wave of red sweeping across the galaxy. If we do not get help, he said quietly, there will be no after the war for any of us. The council voted. The decision was made. A delegation would go to Earth. It was time to wake the sleeping predators. Dr. Lyra Voss gripped the handrail as the Federation ship dropped out of hyperspace near Earth. Blue and green, wrapped in swirling white clouds, the planet looked peaceful from orbit. Lyra knew better. For 20 years, she had studied humans. Their art, their wars, their strange mix of cruelty and kindness. We are being scanned, said Captain Niren. Primitive radar technology, but they have detected us. Take us down, Lyra ordered. The coordinates show their main military facility is in this region. The ship descended through clouds toward a vast desert. Below, dark shapes moved, vehicles and people rushing into defensive positions. The humans had spotted them. They are targeting weapons at us, Niren said nervously. Hold position and activate the translation matrix, Lyra replied. Let me handle this. On the ground, Colonel Alexandra Markov squinted up at the hovering alien craft. Dust swirled around her boots as helicopters circled the UFO and tanks rolled into position. All units hold fire, she ordered into her radio. But if that thing makes any aggressive move, light it up. Her soldiers took cover, weapons trained on the ship. 20 years of combat had taught Markov to stay calm in impossible situations. An alien ship, just another day at the office. A beam of light shot down, and 3 figures materialized on the desert floor. Humanoid, but clearly not human. Tall and slender, with blue-tinted skin and large almond-shaped eyes. Colonel, her second-in-command whispered, are those aliens? Yes. Markov stepped forward, hand resting on her sidearm. And they picked the wrong place to land. The tallest alien stepped forward. Female, Markov thought, though it was hard to tell. People of Earth, the alien said in perfect English, I am Dr. Lyra Voss of the Andromeda Federation. We come seeking your help. Markov's eyes narrowed. Our help. Your reputation as warriors has reached across the stars, Lyra said. Our civilization faces extinction. We need soldiers. 6 hours later, inside a secure bunker, world leaders gathered via video conference as Lyra explained their situation. She showed holographic images of Taraxian forces destroying Federation worlds. So let me get this straight, Markov said, cutting through the diplomatic talk. You've been watching us for centuries. You have technology we can barely understand, but now you need us because this enemy doesn't play nice. Lyra nodded. The Taraxians cannot be reasoned with. They see other life as resources to be harvested. Your species understands something we have forgotten. How to fight with absolute determination. You mean how to be ruthless, Markov said. Yes. Lyra didn't flinch. We need your ruthlessness. The room fell silent. Then Markov laughed, a short, harsh sound. For centuries, we've wondered if we were alone in the universe, she said. Turns out, we're not alone. We're just the meanest kids on the block. She stood up and walked to the holographic display, studying the Taraxian ships. These phase shifts they do. There's a pattern. Every 30 seconds, they're vulnerable. Markov pointed to a formation. And here, they always protect this section. That's where to hit them. Lyra stared in shock. The Federation's best analysts had missed these details. You mean you'll help us? She asked. Markov turned to face her, eyes cold as steel. I'll need 5,000 of Earth's best soldiers, full access to your technology, and territory rights to any worlds we help liberate. She extended her hand. Do we have a deal? Lyra took the human's hand, feeling calluses from years of holding weapons. Deal, she said, and felt the first glimmer of hope in years. World leaders argued while Colonel Markov worked. Within 48 hours of the aliens' arrival, she had assembled her team. 5,000 soldiers from 30 countries, Navy SEALs, Spetsnaz, SAS, and other special forces, men and women who had seen the worst humanity could do and survived. This is insane, General Williams said, watching the soldiers board the massive Federation transport ships. We're sending our best fighters to die in a war that isn't ours. It became our war the moment they found us, Markov replied. If these Taraxians win, Earth is next. In a converted airplane hangar, Dr. Lyra Voss watched human soldiers testing Federation weapons. The energy rifles had been designed for the 4-fingered hands of Federation species, but humans adapted quickly. Too quickly. Your people learn faster than any species I've studied, Lyra said to Markov. That's because we've spent our history trying to kill each other, Markov replied, checking the balance of a plasma blade. We had to learn fast or die. On the main screen, footage of Taraxian attacks played on loop. Markov's team analyzed every frame, looking for weaknesses. Federation advisors were stunned by how quickly humans spotted patterns they had missed for years. "There," said Sergeant Rodriguez, freezing a frame. "They always defend their left flank first. And here, their ships turn exactly 30 degrees before firing main weapons. They're predictable," Markov said. "And predictable enemies can be beaten." In another section of the hangar, Lieutenant Chen worked with Federation engineers to modify their weapons for human use. "Your rifles have too many safety features," Chen explained, stripping down an energy weapon. "In combat, a half-second delay means death." The Federation engineers watched in horror as she removed 3 safety mechanisms and doubled the power output. "But that could cause the weapon to overheat," one protested. Chen shrugged. "Then we'll wear better gloves." At night, when most soldiers slept, Lyra found Markov still working, studying Terexian biology reports. "You should rest," Lyra said. "I'll rest when we win," Markov replied, not looking up. "Silicon-based life forms. They need extreme heat to function properly." She made a note. "That's a weakness we can exploit." "You really think 5,000 humans can change a war we've been losing for 3 years?" Lyra asked. Markov finally looked up, her eyes tired but focused. "The Terexians expect enemies who fight like you. Direct, honorable, predictable. We're going to show them something they've never seen." The next morning, Markov addressed her troops. 5,000 men and women in new combat suits that merged human design with alien technology. "The Federation has rules of war," she told them. "The Terexians have rules of war. We're not going to follow either." She paced before them. "We hit them where they're weakest. We strike from shadows. We make them fear the dark." The soldiers nodded. They understood. Lyra watched from the back, a chill running down her spine. The Federation had sought warriors, but what they had found was something else entirely. These humans didn't just know how to fight. They had turned war into an art form. The training intensified. Human soldiers practiced in simulated Terexian environments. They adapted Federation technology in ways its creators never imagined. They prepared for every scenario. 7 days after first contact, Markov's force was ready. "Time to move out," she ordered. "Let's show these Terexians why picking a fight with humanity was their biggest mistake." Rigel IV was a small mining outpost on the edge of Federation space. Once home to 10,000 workers, it now served as a Terexian resource processing center. 3 massive ships hung in orbit, their crystalline structures gleaming in the light of the system's blue sun. Scanning shows 500 Terexian troops on the surface. Lieutenant Chen reported on the bridge of the cloaked human carrier ship. "Their main base is in the old processing facility." Colonel Markov nodded, studying the holographic display. Federation commanders would have launched a direct assault. That's what the Terexians would expect. "We're not doing that," she said. She turned to her team. "Rodriguez, take Squad Alpha and hit their communication array. Chen, Squad Beta targets their power core. Jackson, perimeter security." Dr. Lyra Voss watched in silence from the back of the bridge. The Federation Council had insisted she observe the humans in action. "You're not attacking their main force?" she asked. Markov smiled coldly. "Why fight an enemy when you can blind and isolate them first?" 50 human soldiers dropped from the carrier in stealth pods. They landed silently across the moon's surface, their advanced suits making them nearly invisible to Terexian sensors. Squad Alpha reached the communication array first. Instead of destroying it, Sergeant Rodriguez placed small devices on the control panels. "Disruptors in place," she whispered into her comm. "Ready to activate." Across the base, Squad Beta reached the massive power core. Lieutenant Chen attached similar devices to the cooling systems. "In position," she reported. Colonel Markov's voice came through each soldier's earpiece. "Operation Thunderbolt begins in 3, 2, 1. Execute." All across the Terexian base, systems began to fail. Communication scrambled. Life support fluctuated. Lights flickered and died. "What's happening?" Lyra asked on the bridge. "Phase 1, Markov explained. "Confusion. Now for Phase 2. She nodded to a communications officer who activated Rodriguez's devices. Suddenly, the Tyraxian emergency channels filled with sounds, the recorded dying screams of Tyraxians from previous battles. You're broadcasting their own people dying. Lyra was horrified. Psychological warfare, Markov said. They'd never experienced it before. On the surface, panic spread through Tyraxian ranks. Their hive mind communication was flooded with distress signals. In the confusion, human soldiers moved like ghosts through the base, placing explosives at strategic points. The Tyraxians are deploying search teams, Rodriguez reported, moving in standard patterns, just like you predicted. Spring the traps, Markov ordered. One by one, the search teams disappeared. No explosions, no gunfire, just silence as human soldiers ambushed them in the darkness. 3 hours into the operation, the Tyraxians finally organized a defense. They gathered in the central plaza, backs to each other, weapons ready. They're adapting, Chen reported. 200 troops in defensive formation. Time for Phase 3, Markov said. She opened a channel to all teams. Light them up. The carefully placed explosives detonated, not to kill but to drive the Tyraxians into a prepared killing zone. As they rushed to escape the flames, human snipers positioned on rooftops picked them off one by one. By dawn, it was over. The Tyraxian force had been eliminated, and the human soldiers secured the base with minimal casualties. Lyra stared at the mission report in disbelief. 28 human wounded, 3 dead, against 500 Tyraxians. Markov looked up from planning their next target. This was just a small outpost. But now the Tyraxians will know something has changed. Her eyes were cold. They'll feel fear for the first time. News of Rigel Ivy's liberation spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On 3 occupied Federation worlds, people who had accepted Tyraxian rule now whispered about the mysterious soldiers who had defeated their conquerors. Admiral Zoltar stood before the Federation Council, his normally calm face showing excitement for the first time in years. The humans have liberated Rigel IV, Proxima Station, and the Vega Outpost, he announced. 3 victories in 2 weeks. The council chamber erupted in cheers. On the main screen, footage played of human soldiers training Federation resistance fighters. They taught them to make simple weapons, to move silently, to strike at night. The Tyraxians are facing something new, Zoltar continued. Rebellion on worlds they thought were pacified. Meanwhile, aboard the human carrier ship Vengeance Colonel Markov studied a captured Tyraxian command vessel. Unlike the Federation, who would have preserved it for scientific study, Markov's engineers were taking it apart piece by piece. Their ships are living technology, Lieutenant Chen explained, pointing to the crystalline control system. The silicon-based materials respond to Tyraxian touch, almost like an extension of their bodies. Markov nodded. Can we use that against them? We already are, Chen replied with a smile. She held up what looked like a glove made from Tyraxian crystal. We can mimic their biological signals now. Their ships won't know we're not Tyraxians. Dr. Lyra Voss watched from across the lab, both impressed and disturbed. In 3 weeks, humans had learned more about Tyraxian technology than Federation scientists had discovered in 3 years. You move very quickly, she said to Markov later. We have to, Markov replied. Wars are won by those who adapt fastest. On the colony world of New Terra, a Federation settlement that had been under Tyraxian control for 2 years, the first human-trained resistance cell struck at midnight. They didn't attack Tyraxian soldiers. Instead, they targeted the processing plants that extracted minerals from Federation citizens. By morning, 5 facilities were destroyed. The Tyraxian response was brutal but disorganized. They weren't prepared for enemies who refused to stand and fight, who struck and then disappeared into the civilian population. Back on the Vengeance Dr. Voss made a discovery while examining a captured Tyraxian officer. Look at this brain scan, she told Markov, pointing to unusual patterns in the crystalline structures. Their minds are connected in a network. But it's hierarchical. Lower ranks receive orders. They don't think independently. Markov leaned closer. So if we take out their commanders, the rest would become confused, unable to make decisions. Lyra finished. Why didn't your people ever exploit this? Markov asked. Lyra looked uncomfortable. In Federation culture, targeting leadership is considered dishonorable. We fight force against force. Markov laughed, a short, harsh sound. And that's why you were losing. That night, Markov called a meeting with her top officers. The plan they created was called Operation Guillotine. We'll use the captured command ship to get close to their fleet headquarters, she explained, pointing to a star map. A small team infiltrates, identifies the command structure, and eliminates it. Without leadership, their entire defense network will collapse. Sergeant Rodriguez studied the fortress-like headquarters. That's a suicide mission. Probably, Markov agreed. I'll lead it myself. From the back of the room, Dr. Voss watched the humans planning. They discussed their own potential deaths with the same calm they might discuss the weather. For the first time, she truly understood why the Federation had needed humanity's help. These people didn't just know how to fight. They knew how to win at any cost. The captured Tyraxian command ship drifted toward the massive enemy headquarters. From the outside, it looked like any other crystalline vessel returning to base. Inside, 12 human soldiers checked their weapons one last time. Comms check, Colonel Markov said, her voice calm despite the danger ahead. Alpha team ready, Sergeant Rodriguez reported. Beta team ready, Lieutenant Chen confirmed. Dr. Lyra Voss tightened the straps on her borrowed combat suit. She hadn't planned to join. Done. Lyra stepped back from the control pillar, the quantum destabilizers now pulsing with blue light. These will disrupt their entire command network in 30 minutes. Markov nodded, firing another burst at Tyraxian soldiers trying to break through the doorway. We need to move. Now. Private Ramirez checked his scanner. Colonel, main corridors are swarming with hostiles. There's no clear path to extraction. Markov studied the tactical display. Their window for escape was closing fast. There's a maintenance shaft. Chen pointed to a small opening near the floor. It might lead to the lower levels. Go, Markov ordered. As her team crawled into the shaft, she fired her last plasma grenade to seal the entrance behind them. They moved through narrow tunnels that seemed designed for repair drones, not humanoids. Lyra struggled to keep up, her breath coming in short gasps. Are you hit? Markov asked. No, Lyra managed. Federation species aren't built for this kind of physical stress. Markov helped her forward, just a little further. They emerged into a large cargo bay filled with containers of processed materials. Tyraxian workers scattered at the sight of armed intruders. Rodriguez, report, Markov called into her comm. Static. Then a pained voice. Made it to the ship, Colonel. Heavy resistance. 3 casualties. We can hold for 5 minutes. Then we have to launch. Understood. On our way. Markov turned to her team. Across this bay, up 2 levels, then we're home. They sprinted across the open space when a massive blast knocked them off their feet. A Tyraxian heavy weapons team had found them. Ramirez was hit hard, his leg shattered by crystal shards. Chen dragged him behind cover as Markov returned fire. Go, Ramirez shouted, pulling out his remaining grenades. I'll hold them here. Markov shook her head. No one gets left behind. With respect, Colonel, Ramirez said, his face pale but determined. Someone has to buy time. The mission comes first. You taught us that. After a moment of silence, Markov nodded. She clasped his shoulder. Make it count, soldier. Always do, ma'am. As they retreated toward the exit, Ramirez positioned himself behind a barricade of cargo containers. He fired methodically, forcing the Tyraxians to take cover. Markov led Chen and Lyra through the corridors, fighting their way upward. Lyra had never seen such focused determination on any face in all her years. They reached the docking bay just as Rodriguez was about to close the ship's hatch. "Where's Ramirez?" Rodriguez asked. "He didn't make it," Markov replied. "Get us out of here." As the ship pulled away from the station, a massive explosion tore through the lower levels. Ramirez had detonated all his grenades at once, taking dozens of Taraxians with him. Later, as they returned to Federation space, Lyra found Markov alone on the observation deck, staring at the stars. "How do you bear it?" she asked quietly. "Losing your people." Markov was silent for a long moment. "By making sure it means something." Within hours, the effects of their mission rippled across Taraxian-controlled space. With their command network disrupted, Taraxian forces fell into disarray. On 12 occupied worlds, resistance fighters rose up simultaneously, using tactics the humans had taught them. Federation ships, now employing human strategies, launched precision strikes against confused enemy positions. For the first time in years, the Federation was winning battles. For the first time, the Taraxians were retreating. Admiral Zolter reviewed the reports with amazement. "The humans have changed everything." "Yes," agreed High Minister Laurel. "But at what cost to themselves? And what cost to us?" 3 months after Operation Guillotine, the war had changed completely. 30 Federation worlds had been liberated. Taraxian forces were in retreat across all fronts. But the Federation's celebration ended abruptly when their long-range sensors detected massive energy readings from the Taraxian home system. "They're building something," Admiral Zolter explained to the War Council. "Our scientists believe it's a stellar destabilizer." In simple terms, Colonel Markov asked, "What does that mean?" "It means they can make stars go supernova," Lyra answered, her face grim. "They could destroy entire systems from a safe distance." Silence fell over the room. After all their victories, they now faced a threat that could undo everything. "We have to hit their homeworld," Markov said finally. "Take out the weapon before they can use it." "Impossible," said High Minister Laurel. "Taraxis Prime is protected by an energy shield our ships cannot penetrate. 3 fleets have tried. None returned." Markov studied the holographic display showing the Taraxian homeworld. A shimmering barrier surrounded the entire planet. "What if we don't try to break through?" she asked. "What if we go around it?" That night, in a secure lab aboard the flagship, Lieutenant Chen showed Markov and Lyra a device they had been developing in secret. "We call it the Ghost Drive," Chen explained. "It uses Taraxian phase shift technology, but modified to shift not just energy signatures but matter itself." "You're talking about teleportation," Lyra said in disbelief. "Not exactly. More like slipping between realities. For a fraction of a second, you exist in a different dimension where the shield doesn't exist." "Has it been tested?" Markov asked. Chen nodded. "On unmanned probes. 3 successes, 2 failures. It's not perfect." "And on living creatures." "That's still theoretical." Markov looked at the device for a long moment. "I'll test it myself." 2 days later, despite protests from Federation leadership, Operation Final Dawn was approved. The Federation fleet would launch a massive assault on the shield as a diversion. Meanwhile, a small team led by Markov would use the Ghost Drive to slip through the shield and destroy the stellar destabilizer from inside. "This is a one-way trip," Markov told the volunteers. "The Ghost Drive will get us in, but we don't have enough power for a return journey." Despite her warning, 20 soldiers stepped forward. Markov selected 5: Rodriguez, Chen, and 3 others who had been with her since Earth. To everyone's surprise, Dr. Lyra Voss also volunteered. "The device needs a Taraxian command code to deactivate," she explained. "I'm the only one who can read their language well enough." The night before the mission, Lyra found Markov in the ship's observation lounge, writing messages. "Letters home?" Lyra asked. Markov nodded. "For the families of everyone we've lost, and for those we're about to lose. You really don't think any of us are coming back? I think we'll complete the mission, Markov replied. After that, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The next morning, as the Federation fleet engaged the Taraxian defenses in the largest space battle in galactic history, a small stealth ship approached the shield from the dark side of Taraxis Prime. Inside, Markov addressed her team one last time. Whatever happens today, remember this. We're changing the course of history. The Federation will remember what humans did here. She turned to Chen. Activate the ghost drive. The small ship shimmered, then vanished in a flash of blue light. The ghost drive worked. Markov and her team materialized deep within the shield surrounding Taraxis Prime. Their small ship settled on the crystalline surface near the massive stellar destabilizer complex. We have 30 minutes before they detect us, Chen said, checking her scanner. The battle is drawing most of their forces to the shield perimeter. Markov divided their tasks. Rodriguez set up a defensive position. Chen, find us a way into the facility. Lyra, you're with me. The rest of you, prepare the quantum charges. They moved quickly across the alien landscape. Taraxis Prime was beautiful in its own way. Crystal formations reached toward the sky like frozen lightning, and the ground itself seemed to pulse with energy. Inside the facility, they encountered surprisingly little resistance. Most Taraxian forces were defending against the Federation fleet. The control center should be 2 levels down, Lyra said, reading the alien symbols on the walls. They descended into the heart of the complex. The stellar destabilizer was an enormous machine, pulsing with energy so powerful it made the air shimmer. How long to disarm it? Markov asked. Lyra studied the control panel. I need to find the command sequence. It could take minutes or hours. We don't have hours. Rodriguez set charges on the primary power couplings. If we can't shut it down, we'll blow it up. As Rodriguez's team placed explosives, alarm signals suddenly blared throughout the facility. They found us, Chen reported. Multiple hostiles, converging from all directions. Hold them off, Markov ordered. Lyra and I will finish this. The sounds of battle echoed through the complex as the human soldiers engaged the Taraxian guards. Lyra worked frantically at the control panel while Markov protected her. I need more time, Lyra said desperately. Checking her tactical display, Markov made a decision. Get the shutdown code. I'll buy you time. Before Lyra could protest, Markov sealed the control room door and headed toward the approaching Taraxians. Over her comm, Lyra could hear the sounds of intense fighting. Colonel, she called. Just get it done, Markov replied, her voice strained. Finally, Lyra broke through the last security protocol. The destabilizer's energy signature began to fade. But another system activated, a self-destruct sequence. Markov, I shut down the weapon, but the facility is going to explode in 3 minutes. Get to the ship, Markov ordered. Take everyone and go. What about you? There was a pause. I'm not going to make it. The shield generators are down the hall from me. If I can destroy them, the Federation fleet can finish the job. Colonel. That's an order, Doctor. This was always a one-way trip for someone. With a heavy heart, Lyra gathered the surviving team members. Rodriguez was badly wounded. Chen was helping her walk. Where's the colonel? Chen asked. Giving us a chance to escape, Lyra replied. As their ship lifted off, they saw Markov reach the shield generator room. She placed her remaining charges and activated them. The explosion tore through the facility, destroying the shield generators. Across the planet, the protective barrier flickered and died. From the bridge of the Federation flagship, Admiral Zoltar watched in awe as the impenetrable shield vanished. All ships target the destabilizer complex, he ordered. The Federation fleet opened fire. The surface of Taraxis Prime erupted in light as the stellar destabilizer was destroyed. 6 months later, Dr. Lyra Voss stood in the Great Hall on Elysium Prime. The war was over. The Taraxian Empire had surrendered after the loss of their homeworld. On a new monument, she placed a small earth flower. The names of every human who had fought in the war were etched in crystal, with Colonel Alexander Markov's at the top. The inscription read, "When all hope was lost, humanity's ruthless soldiers arrived. They taught us that peace is protected by those willing to fight for it." Behind her, a new generation of Federation officers trained under human instructors. They had learned that the galaxy was not always kind, and that sometimes survival required strength. But they had also learned when to show mercy. The defeated Taraxians had been given resources to rebuild on a new world, not as conquerors, but as members of the galactic community. That balance, knowing when to fight and when to forgive, was perhaps humanity's greatest lesson of all.